Yugoslavia is best known as that big goofy country from the 70s that turned into 6 little countries in the 90s, amid an orgy of rape and nightmare war. The breakup of Yugoslavia led to a period of such heinous interethnic violence, including acts of outright genocide. It seemed amazing that they had ever been able to live together in the first place. At the end of World War II, Joseph Marshal Tito Broz united the 6 Balkan republics into a massive socialist federation, despite the fact that, historically, they all wanted to kill each other. When Tito died, the old ethnic tensions reawoke, and the republic started to break away. First Slovenia, then Macedonia, then Croatia, then Bosnia, and eventually Montenegro, leaving Serbia the last republic to carry the torch for the old Yugoslavia. Oh yeah, Kosovo broke away too, if you consider that a country. It's been 10 years since the end of the wars, and since the man widely considered their architect, Serbian President Slobodan Milosevic, was bulldozed out of office. All of the former Yugoslav republics have now applied for membership in the European Union. At the same time, the Balkans is still a byword for barbaric acts of violence, and the entire region occupies a sort of threshold state between Europe and, well, not Europe. So we went to the Balkans to find out once and for all if Yugoslavians are just like you and me Yugoslavians. We're in Yugoslavia, or former Yugoslavia, I'm sorry, we're in Serbia right now. We rented an old Yugo for this trip. I don't think we realized quite how old it would be. We're going about 100K right now, which is maybe 60, and the car's rattling. It's almost like being in a moving massage chair. It's holding up pretty well, except that the fuel gauge is literally doing this, so we have to guess when we're out of gas. And me and the passenger seatbelts are tied together. I forgot about that. So we're going to Yugoland, and that's a kind of a farm mixed with an amusement park that is supposed to capture the memory of Marshal Tito's Yugoslavia. I'll tell you one thing about Yugoland, they don't advertise very well. There were no signs on the highway for it, and it is in the middle of a very, very, very tiny village. Yugoland's website advertises it as a full-service amusement park in northern Serbia based on the former Yugoslavia. It has different sections for each of the old constituent republics, except for Kosovo, so we couldn't think of a more perfect place to get oriented for a road trip through the scattered remnants of old Yugoslavia. So this is Yugoland. It looks like it's kind of just in the backyard of someone's house. I think we might have missed most of the action. This might be the sober committee. Sounds like stuff's still going on in the background. Yugoland seemed pleasant enough, if a bit old and rustic. Not a lot of teenagers so far. Nor a lot of ladies. Blaško Gabric is Yugoland's founder, a Serbian printmaker turned Canadian turned eventual Yugoslavian superfan, and is generally what people of the region refer to as quite a character.
When they tried to destroy Yugoslavia, I made Yugoland then.
Okay.
You can see it. This is the peace bridge.
Okay.
You can photograph the peace bridge. We go across the peace bridge. Inside of Yugoslavia, we don't have no fights. 9 years so far. You don't see anybody arguing.
9 years in counting.
Everybody's happy.
Pretty good.
You can see here. Do you see any sad faces? Yes, they are old, but they are happy. Watch them. They are singing. They even pay the music to play them. and I give them to enjoy. Like Maria Theresia, she was helping the people who could need a house. I do that here.
Yugoland turned out to be less of an amusement park than a park, and really less of that than a yard with some picnic tables and a lot of tipsy Serbians. Nevertheless, its amenities include a bandstand, soccer fields, a reflecting pool in the shape of the Croatian coastline, and a scale model of Slovenia's Mount Triglav.
We brought so many truck load, then 3 bulldozers came and pushed the ground up, and they was working here like ants to make the mountain Triglav high.
The most important amenity, however, is a fervent and unconditional love for Yugoslavian's late partisan leader, Marshal Tito.
I am very happy I lived in Tito's time. It was my pleasure to live in that time. And it's pleasure to think about him, and pleasure to cherish his work, what he did to the poor people. No man so far in the planet did that for the working class.
Marshal Tito is extremely beloved for a dead communist dictator. Even coming from an American perspective, I always had a pretty vaunted impression of him. He was like the dictator who cares. Minimal human rights violations, genuine popular support, and he was one of the only communists with the balls to tell Stalin where to smoke it, or where to stuff it, however that saying goes. And on top of that, he fucked Elizabeth Taylor. Probably. So all in all, not a terrible guy to worship. The guest of honor at Yugoland this year is Tito's grandson, though we get the feeling the family charm may have skipped a couple generations.
Ja dolazim u Jugoland od prvog dana. Znači, zajedno smo krenuli da napravimo ovo i evo svake godine sve više i više.
You can see the one board where is now the pictures is destroyed a little bit because the cold weather breaks.
Outside.
That's the funeral of Marshal Tito.
Yeah.
May 4, 1980, Tito died. Yugoslavia complete was crying. The whole world was sad. Everybody came from every country from this earth to planet to say to Tito goodbye. Now you can recognize many of them. Yasser Arafat.
Hey! Yeah.
And now you have English king.
Yep. Oh, or the Crown Prince.
Yeah,
Whatever.
Crown Prince. Crown Prince. That's what I know. Now the Brezhnev.
Yep.
Saddam Hussein. And Hungarian president.
A real who's who. U.S. president anywhere here?
No.
Carter?
No.
Was Reagan by that point?
No, there is the English lady.
Oh, it's Thatcher.
Margaret Thatcher.
She's somewhere.
Do you know any other funeral? When Kennedy dies, how many people was there?
A few.
Few.
Yeah. Elvis had a pretty big funeral.
But not from the whole countries.
Yeah, no.
And they was the top people from the leading country. They said to me, when Tito dies, Yugoslavia will fall apart. I said, come on, guys, you must be crazy. We have great country. Why should we fall apart? Never could. Why the heaven should be falling apart? Because everybody wished to be in heaven.
Right.
We had a heaven. Why should we fall apart? After the falling Yugoslavia apart, our people is very poor today. We can thanks to America, they made the hell in the heaven. And I wish them. Now, if you believe in God, what does God do to America today? How many those twister you have?
Oh yeah, a bunch.
Why?
57.
The twister hits only South America. Why doesn't it hit any other country in Europe? Why? You made God mad, thanks to the rich people or the capitalists.
Yugoland's a pretty harmless exercise in nostalgia. What's creepy, though, is the part where it's mostly Serbs getting together in Serbia to celebrate their Yugoslav history, all while neatly stepping over the decade their country spent committing war crimes in Bosnia and Croatia and Kosovo. You also have to remember that during the 90s, when the wars were going on and Blaško was just getting into its Yugoslavian heritage, Serbia was still Yugoslavia, Milosevic's Yugoslavia. Yo, Yugoslavia! While the Yugolanders sort of represent the feel-good version of the Balkans' past, basically retreading decades-old national propaganda ad nauseum, another group of Serbs have been barreling into the future with a trunk full of smuggled drugs to a soundtrack of pumping turbo folk. Hey, it's Thomas. We're in Belgrade, turbo folk capital of the world. Turbo folk is traditional Yugoslavian folk music played over some of the most violently aggressive techno ever recorded and made for criminals by criminals. Where Western pop stars' run-ins with the law generally start and end with stuff like drugs and drunk driving, it isn't uncommon for a turbo folk star to be arrested with a trunk full of smuggled cocaine or machine guns. Turbo folk started in the roadhouse bars dotting Serbia's highways before migrating to the city and becoming the country's biggest export after war crimes. Cornelia Kovac is like the Serbian Elton John. He's also the closest thing we could find to a turbo folk expert without having to talk to the Serbian paparazzi.
Je počelo da koristi elektronske instrumente. Muzičari su počeli da koriste elektronske pomalo. Znači, takve melodije su pravili, koje nisu bile uopšte uzete iz folklora, ličile na folklor ili na narodnu muziku. Bile su kao neka pop melodija. I onda su uzimali pevača mladog, lepe devojke s kratkim suknjama, sa grudima i tako dalje, koje nisu znale da pevaju, ali su ih oni učili kako da naprave neki ukras narodnjački. Je uspelo da, ta kombinacija je uspela je odjedanput da zainteresuje publiku iz unutrašnjosti i kad je to krenulo tako, tu više nije bilo zaustavljeno.
Under Tito, folk music was deemed too kitschy and embarrassing for state support, so folk singers had to get their money from another source, the Serbian mafia. As Yugoslavia fell apart in the 90s, gangsters bought up state assets and even led their own armies in the wars with the breakaway republics. They channeled their plunder into the music they loved, and overnight folk turned from funny country songs about drunk husbands into turbo folk, an ear-shattering million beats per minute celebration of sex, money, boob jobs, brand name crap, and astonishing levels of tackiness. The queen of the 90s turbo folk scene was a Serbian teenager named Svetlana Raznatovic, better known as Setsa. Setsa's songs became the soundtrack to the wars in Bosnia and Croatia, and Setsa herself even traveled to the front lines to entertain the Serbian soldiers. On one of these trips, she fell in love with infamous Serbian warlord Arkan. Following the war, the two were married in a garish ceremony Serbian newspapers described as a fairy tale. The marriage was broadcast on state TV, sealing Setsa as the new queen of Yugoslavian music, and making the marriage of turbo folk with organized crime about as literal as it gets. Arkan was killed in 2000, and 3 years later, Setsa was arrested for having a cache of assault rifles in her basement. Setsa is still under house arrest, but in her wake, a new generation of turbo folk stars has sprouted. Goga Sekulic is one of the potential heirs to Setsa's throne. Her 1999 breakthrough single, Panties, led to quick success as well as numerous body modifications and follow-up hits like Boy Toy and Sexy Businessman. We met Goga at the studio of Pink TV, which is like Serbia's answer to MTV, but a lot trashier. It's been the career springboard for all of turbo folk's major stars. Basically, it's turbo folk's factory of dreams.
Folk women in general are a little bit intimidating and often tall, but Goga's like another species. She looks like a tan Navi.
After the show, we headed to Goga's studio to watch her record her new album.
Hoćeš li da im pustiš Miami ili Sexy Businessman?
Did you say Sexy Businessman?
Is my big hit in my career. Sexy Businessman. Blondie, I am Blondie. Old.
Great. What's it about? Besides a Sexy Businessman?
wife. This is not her bed. I'm your live doll and you're my businessman.
Pa reci da ja imam tekstove najluđe me sad.
Hot stuff.
Good. Ne boli me glava što nisam spavala, sa tebe se skidala i odvikavala. Noćas vode me pravo u ludnicu, noćas žale me svi na glas. Tamo gde vode ti noćas curicu, zar je to tvoj obećani raj? Hej! Super! To je to. Malo mi krče grlo danas. Good, a?
Yeah.
Kako?
Treba da spavaš.
Da. Sinoć sam bila u gradu, nisam trebala. Malo da odmorim.
Okay.
While Goga took a beauty nap, we had some drinks with her manager and the Serge Gainsbourg-looking dude to get ready for a rare Tuesday night performance at Belgrade's Club Mystique.
To što su nagomilani problemi u ljudima na sve strane, gdje god se okrenete, završe fakultet, ne mogu da dobiju posao. Sve to nagomilano i u devojkama i mladićima, i uglavnom to mladi ljudi vole. To je to, zato su oni polude tamo kad ta muzika krene, oni skoče na sto, do daske i stresu se, to traje do možda 4-5 ujutru i onda spavaju celo prepodne kao ne znam kad rade i kad uče.
This place is hopping. From like Monday?
In the summer, only girls with
To ne može
big
da kaže
boobs,
krce.
Right?
with silicone and stuff.
All the girls are so tall here.
Sure.
Only
It's
kafe.
freaky. Yeah? Oh, okay.
Fast and curious.
We're in Republika Square in Belgrade, and we are headed to Club Mystic, and we are hauling ass.
Yes.
Yes.
And my language beautiful.
Yes. Everything here is beautiful. It's great. It's very everybody's here very forward. I like it.
Posebno ja recimo.
Especially her.
Hey crazy man!
Before hitting the club, we went to pick up Goga's entourage.
I coming.
We met our friends at a bar in a neighborhood nicknamed Silicon Valley. Get it?
Please, join side.
I'm gonna make this picture so much shorter.
In the middle.
Go in the middle.
I'm gonna look like I'm kneeling right here.
It's great.
For you.
Oh, thank you. These are beautiful. Not quite real.
On je zaljubljen u tebe.
Ja u njega.
Veruj da je on više od tebe nego ti u njega.
Da, kaže samo
Što ti lažiš, ne mogu čini se.
Those are some pretty nice fake roses.
Hey man! Crazy!
Where's middle finger?
Oh my god.
Znaš neku Goginu pesmu?
Znaš kako moju pesmu? S kim si
Sinoć bio, da li ona zna? Ne zna ona, ne zna ona, znam samo ja. Devojka za jedno večer misli briga me, a kod tebe su još uvek moje gaćice.
Bravo.
Sladak mali.
Psyched.
Oh my god. Come on.
These all the paparazzi? Metal detector. Usually there's somebody watching this kind of thing. I think I just set it off, but I guess maybe it's more of a problem if you don't set it off.
The place kind of looks like your standard tacky nightclub, but everything's amped up to beyond ridiculous levels. The music is playing at mind-altering volume. The lasers shoot directly in everybody's eyes. Someone kept throwing stacks of napkins at us. Each Each of the club's several floors was packed with towering, fake-titted women and men who looked like the personification of murder. Our photographer kept recognizing everybody in Goga's extended entourage, but not from the music industry, from news reports about the Serbian mafia. At one point, Goga pulled me to the railing and said, "Ooh." Below us, two dudes were beating the shit out of each other amid an army of security guards. It's one thing watching drunk dudes fight in a bar in New York, but when it's two Serbs in a club swarming with criminals who've been drinking all day, the stakes seem a little higher.
We just left and it's even crazier fucking outside than it was in there. I just stepped on a dude's foot who looked like he fought an instinctual response to fucking like shiv me. I'm sitting right next to Goga, by the way. This was great. This is like this isn't like New York clubs. This is insane. All I did was drink brandy and listen to music that was like felt like it was being punched into my face the whole time. That was insane.
The push in Turbofolk right now is to clear out the trashy past and go legit, which is incidentally the same process the entire country is going through. Ideally, this means finally clearing out all the corruption that's entrenched itself in every level of Serbian society since the breakup of Yugoslavia, but in probability means sweeping 20 years of very ugly history under the rug and shooting it. We left Belgrade and headed south through Serbia on the same highways Turbofolk grew up on. As we crossed the Ibar River into the mountains of Kosovo, the weather darkened and the Kosovo is Serbia graffiti we've been seeing since Belgrade became more frequent and less nicely scrawled.
It's 1:30 in the morning. We're going to Mitrovica, a city in the north. It's half Serb, half Albanian, and there's a bunch of dudes on a bridge who keep the Albanians from crossing into the area with the Serbs. We're gonna go hang out with these guys. Hopefully not watch them beat up Albanians.
The problems in Kosovo date back over 600 years of very, very, very confusing history. A long time ago, the entire region belonged to the Serbs, but they lost it to the Turks in 1389. And despite the fact that since then the territory has changed hands more times than fucking Poland, many Serbs still carry a grudge. Tension simmered during the Tito years before finally erupting in 1989, when Serbs rioted over discrimination by the growing Albanian majority. This is where Milosevic actually became a Serbian nationalist. And it was basically the flashpoint for all the wars that followed.
We just got to the Kosovo border. There's barbed wire here. Are there men up there with guns? No? It's just this. It looks like a fortress. Okay. So we are now in Kosovo.
During the 90s, the Kosovar Albanians accused the Serbian army of trying to ethnically cleanse them from the area. The Kosovo Liberation Army was formed by the Albanians, ostensibly to defend them from Serbian genocide, though many people noticed their tactics were eerily similar to their enemies, which is to say atrocious. Then Bill Clinton got a blowjob and decided to bomb Serbia until they gave up Kosovo to the Albanians, which they kind of didn't. Anywho, the tidiest symbol for this ridiculous mess is a bridge in the town of Mitrovica. The north side is Serbian, the south side is Albanian, and every night a group of hotheads stand on each side and beat the shit out of anybody who tries to cross. Even though the war officially ended in 1999, the bridges continue to be the site of some extremely nasty showdowns. Most recently, in 2010, a dispute over some local elections turned into a rock party between the Serbian bridge watchers and their Albanian counterparts. That silver-haired guy chucking a stone in the middle of the bridge right there is the Serbian bridge watchers' de facto leader, Nebojša Jovic. He's been watching the bridge for over a decade and has been involved in a lot of particularly shady incidents between the Serbs and Albanians.
99. godine, krajem juna, da su se već snage rasprostrile ovdje međunarodno, bilo i zajedno sa KFOR-om, cijela međunarodna zajednica, cijel taj aparat međunarodni, ili nije hteo, ili nije umeo, a jedno i drugo nije nama išlo u prilog da nas zaštiti, zato smo odlučili da sami sebe zaštitimo, koliko možemo. Nije to postojala, nije to bila formacija politička, nije bila politička organizacija, nije bila vojna organizacija, to je jednostavno bila grupa jedna koja se imala samo jedan cilj, da se ne ponovi ovdje sudbina svih onih gradova Južnog Dibreku, Srčke i očišćenje.
Nebojša's basic point is that if his bridge watchers didn't stand guard every night, there'd be no one to protect the Serbs from being driven out of Mitrovica.
2000. godine je došlo do dogovora između Beograda i Prištine, odnosno međunarodne zajednice, da se ukine ta grupa posmatrači Moster. 2002. godine, kažem, tad je počela neka konkretnija akcija i KFOR i UNMIK-a i mi smo tad njima rekli u redu je, mi vama verujemo da ćete pokušati da nas zaštite od napada agresivnih Albanaca.
While Nebojša claims that his men have called off their vigil, we couldn't help but notice a lot of tough-looking motorists making extremely aggressive U-turns right in front of the bridge all night long.
We just got done having a little chat with our buddy, with the bridge watchers. I guess we're just gonna hang out here and see what happens. See if people just like circle all night, or if they get out of their cars or whatever. I'm kind of hoping it's boring because the alternative sounds terrifying.
3 guys on my left, 2 guys sitting on the benches behind me.
Right.
So there is so much activity. If you like to go to the bridge, you can freely do.
Oh, we can?
He said, be careful, you could be hurt here.
Voila. That's a little foreboding. Yeah. Well, let's go to the bridge then.
Crossing the bridge in Mitrovica was actually sort of no big deal. It was just like crossing any bridge that has no lights and a permanent detachment of UN soldiers stationed in the middle. Still, there's something eerie about being the only people besides cops on a bridge where hundreds of other folks have bled out. It's kind of like sneaking into Antietam in the middle of the night, only if the Civil War had happened like 5 years ago.
There's another person doing a U-turn very fast.
They're coming to the bridge, making U-turn, going back.
Yeah.
There, just the same as here.
Yeah. There's no reason for them to make a U-turn.
Despite the fact that nothing kicked off while we were there, it was definitely spooky on the bridge. And we also had no idea whether or not the Albanian side would be as hectic as Nebojša had warned us.
Hey, it's Thomas. I'm at the San Gusto Cafe, which is a very nice European-style place. A couple years ago, though, an Albanian boy walked across the bridge and threw a bomb in here. And that wasn't the first bomb that's gone off in here. But this is the bridge. You see a heavy police presence there, but it's like, that's it. That tiny little strip is what divides Albanian Kosovo from Serbian Kosovo. And so one thing that's weird is you notice a lot of cars pull over right before they cross the bridge, and the drivers hop out and pop off their license plates. And the deal is, if you're driving a car in the wrong neighborhood with the wrong plates, you're asking to get killed. And you'll see a number of cars just driving around with no plates at all, like it's no big thing. I mean, we've been getting kind of I feel like one side of the story. So we're gonna go over there and into Albanian Kosovo and see what it's like.
On the Albanian side of the bridge, we met a group of kids who didn't quite live up to the menacing horde Nebojša had led us to expect.
This is, how can I say, the main place of the youth. It's fresh air, river, cultural center near.
This is the spot.
Yeah, it's a good view.
Yeah, the old man drag. Have you ever had any trouble with the bridge watchers? We keep hearing about them.
Exactly me, I didn't have, but my friends. Also, my father was beating from them.
I'm sorry.
In 2001, we fled because I lived in the north before, and we didn't know who was them. You cannot see them in the uniforms, but they are just kind of just like me, civils.
Right, they just look like normal.
Yeah,
normal
like
folks.
normal forms, and the Kosovo government is not making nothing to stop them.
I didn't know you'd grown up in the north.
Yeah, I can go in the north, but not alone.
Right.
I will call a friend, Serb.
A Serb friend?
Yeah.
And you'll go with him?
I will go with him. But alone, I cannot go. Because I'm afraid someone's gonna kill me or...
Right, right.
Everything, it's so chaotic in the north, and actually there's not let's say enough presence of Kosovo police.
Right.
I mean, what I've heard from my Serb colleagues or from my Serb friends, they said that you can kill a person in the north and you don't go in jail. So you just imagine then what's the
like
rule
lawless.
of law? Yeah,
Right.
just nothing there. I think that because of mafia and the organized crime is there. Let's say like I can catch you and I can send you to police, but then what will happen to me after?
Right.
You know?
Snitches get stitches.
I mean, there is tension, you know, because it's kind of frozen conflict, you know. But you know, it's like it can explode anytime.
Right.
The bridge used to be a normal bridge before the war, but
Right.
after the war it was so politicized by KFOR, by politicians, by everyone. So then now, I mean, you still see the police in the middle of the bridge.
Yeah,
So that's why, and actually you've seen that it's not so dangerous anymore.
No, we walked right through. Yeah,
it's
I was waiting for like
think that it's
frisk
just
and the
now
dogs
that-
and stuff.
Yeah, I think that now they're just there because they used to be there.
Our day on the Albanian side made it totally clear what the real problem is here. It isn't violence or genocide, it's demographics. The Serbian side is practically empty, and what people you do see all seem to be pretty fucking old or bust-in skinheads. Then you cross the bridge and it's all kids. Not scary kids either, just regular kids hanging out and otherwise minding their own, but a lot of them. And that's what the real threat is. Albanian Kosovo is growing while Serbian Kosovo is shrinking, and all the beatings in the world ain't gonna change that.
No country wants them. They're the people that nobody wants. And of course the Albanians fought tooth and nail not to let them come back to their original neighborhood. They didn't want Gypsies back in their community. And this is the bottom line in Kosovo.
We're on our way to a refugee camp set up by the UN in 1999 for the Gypsy community here. We've heard terrible things about the conditions of the camp and the health of the people who are there. So we're just gonna go and check it out.
In simplest terms, the conflict in Kosovo is between the Serbian north and the Albanian south. But it's not that simple. It's not simple at all. There's Serbian enclaves in the south, Albanian pockets in the north, something called Illyrians kind of in the middle, and like the rest of Europe, Gypsies pretty much everywhere. The Gypsies, or Roma, are a nomadic people who've been roaming around Europe since the Roman times. They're in every major country in Europe and are heavily discriminated against everywhere they live. Western Europeans, even supposedly tolerant Dutch types, accuse Gypsies of being thieving, lying, welfare cheats, and generally a lot less charming than their depiction in children's cartoons, or that Cher song. But while in most of Europe, Gypsy mistreatment starts and ends with making fun of them and not hiring them for jobs, in Kosovo their treatment is a million times harsher. To help solve the problem of the Gypsy refugees, the UN invited Paul Polanski, an American Gypsy expert, to come to Kosovo and help them set up camps.
The EC, Commissioner for Human Rights, issued a written report saying that this was the worst human rights violation in Europe in the past decade.
During the 1999 war in Kosovo, as Albanian and Serbian forces wailed on each other, NATO began a bombing campaign in support of the Albanians, displacing hundreds of thousands of people, including most of the region's Gypsies.
Well, I came to Kosovo in 1999 as almost every Western journalist, pro-Albanian. We'd read in the New York Times and heard in the media that the Albanians were being ethnically cleansed by the Serbs. And that's true, but there was another side of the coin, and I sort of put it down to the abused becoming the abuser. The Albanians suffered under the Serbs for many generations, and now they've become the abusers. The UN opened a few IDP camps, internally displaced people camps, and so they needed an expert to advise them, and that's what they brought me to Kosovo to do.
To je bio kao tranzit da se ovdje oporavi za 3-4 dana dok se ne smiri kad su nagli počeli da dolazu Albanci. Prilikom ulasku bili su kao ljudožderi i njima je bilo krivo što nismo mi učestvovali sa njihovom stranu, pa su oni stalno mislili da smo sa Srbima, pa onda zbog toga što im nismo pomagali i počeli da nas kidnapuju, počeli da biju, počeli da isteraju i silivaju to.
It's obviously depressing in here, and it's like an atrocity for people in modern Europe or anywhere to live like this. But it's, you know, everybody's super house proud. And they've taken care of this place, you know. It doesn't smell. It's clean, you know, as much as it can be. Everybody's house is nice. Everybody's house is decorated great. Even the graffiti's kind of like pretty well done.
Živim ja sa 9-članom porodicom. Se nalazimo u skoro 12 godina. Svaka porodica radi, izdržava mislim privatno izdržava sve, skupljajući sirovine neke. I radići sa ovim moraju da imaju tu deca naše.
On top of everything, the cramped conditions, the hole in the roof, never mind the fact that if any of the residents step outside the camp, they risk a beatdown. Every single child inside the camp has severe lead poisoning.
There were about 1,800 tents built on the tailing stands of the mines, and the pollution from the smelter drifted right over their camp. Their blood samples were sent to a lab in Belgium, and Belgium said, please retake the tests. There's no such levels in medical literature. And so the tests were retaken and found that these children had the highest lead levels in medical literature. And so the UN medical team said, Dr. Kuchner, you must evacuate these camps. Well, he didn't. And so that's where I broke my relationship with the UN. We still have 40 families on the toxic wasteland. And the other 100 were only moved off in January and December of this past year. 11 years. More than 100 Roma, mainly children, died in these camps on this toxic wasteland.
Evropa da postoji veoma problema tu kod nas Roma. Otrovani naša deca imaju veoma kontaminirano olovo. Ali nivo olova dali su neki tablete, tako da je bilo upadanje olova, pa je posle sprečavanje tog nisu dali više tablete i ništa ne produzimaju za tu ljudi.
Gusani's camp is actually the second one the UN set up in the area. The original camp, the one built over an industrial waste site which caused all the lead poisoning, is actually still open. Conditions there are obviously worse than what we saw in Leposavic, and the effects of the lead poisoning are even more drastic.
Jesam Tomas.
Ja pierdolę skanę. Tomas. Drago Sara. Okej. Sad momentalno živim sa 7 dece, ja i supruga 9 člana. Oni su uzeli uzorke krvi deci koji su testirali i da naša deca, nemoj sad, i da naša deca, da ti kažem pravo, imaju veliku nivo olova. I do propasta ljudi koji propadaju. I mnogo ljudi, mnogo dece su već umreli.
Evo, Sara su našli 3 vrste šumu na srcu, ima olovo, nema kiselnika na mozak. Kako da ti kažem, ne daj Bože, može i čepaj da...
Ona je najmlađa.
Ona je najmlađa.
Zub ga boli, stomak, glava, povraća temperaturu non stop. Ona treba, kaže, da se leči, a ovdje da se leče, kaže, nije vazduh.
It's for lead poisoning, the results. We are 64.
Every single kid that has been moved off this toxic wasteland has a lead level between 15 micrograms per deciliter and 45 micrograms per deciliter. Brain damage starts at 10 micrograms per deciliter. Every kid is born with irreversible brain damage, and yet they're telling us there's no medical treatment.
And there is the therapy that she's been on too.
Okay. When they stopped giving treatment, did they say why?
Ma ništa, gospođo, to su prekinuli i gotovo više. Samo su završili svoj mandat, to je katastrofa. I zato tražim, gospođo, za treću zemlju, bilo gde da... Iako mi umre, baram znam da u treću zemlju, a ne više ovde. Nemamo više poverenja, mi da ostavimo decu ovde.
Have any of local or international organizations offered you medical help?
Kad su oni rekli za bolje uslove, zaostaje rod ovde, ko kolektivni. Da su mnogo organizacije učestvovali ovde da će da bude za bolje uslove i bolji život. I ništa, gospođo. Tako, ovaj kamp ovde ne postoji. Nama ne interesuje rat. Mi imamo veliku brigu u rat i našu decu da ozdravimo.
Bilo mi jako drago.
You have to wonder why they put the Gypsy camp in a place that was first highly polluted, second surrounded by Albanian villages. Then they withdrew security. So you have to wonder, did they want us wiped out so they wouldn't have to handle a Gypsy problem in the future?
As of making this, it's been 12 years since the end of the war in Kosovo. Both temporary refugee camps are still packed, and what talk there was about helping families move back home has trickled to a whisper. The whole deal underscores the fact that, for all its rhetoric, the UN's not primarily a humanitarian organization, but a political one. All this raises the question of whether their intervention in these cases actually does more good than it does harm.
We didn't have AIDS in Kosovo until UN police brought it from Africa.
Jesus.
We didn't have brothels and houses of prostitution until UN police made loans and investments in Kosovo to start the drug trade and the prostitution trade. They're not answerable to anybody, and that's how these things can happen. They have diplomatic immunity. So this is our new crusade, is to try and draw awareness that they're refusing to medically treat these kids. Now, if it was their kids, they would find a medical treatment.
They're gonna push us.
Kids. Lala. Keeping up? This is kind of like the scene in the Goonies where Troy grabs Brent's hand. But I think the roles are a little reversed. Ciao. Morning in Sarajevo. The cloud is lifting over the city. We almost died in our Yugo last night, so we decided to give it a rest and trade up for our fixers, Chevy Reveo. So you can see, the choice has made all the difference. We're automotively living in the lap of luxury right now.
This is our fixer, Elvis. He's blind in one eye, which kind of makes him look like a Bosnian David Bowie. He's also wrecked 3 cars in the week we've known him.
Our engine is smoking.
Yeah, I was wondering where all this mist came from.
It's like a fog machine.
I did it for it.
Son of a bitch.
There it goes.
Before the Serbs turned it into Hogan's Alley in the 90s, Sarajevo was an extremely modern European city. It's also the biggest Muslim city in Europe, though most residents are Muslims the same way like New Yorkers or Jews or Christians. They go to mosque for prayers and holidays, but that's about it. All the men have shaved faces, most people drink, ladies wear jeans, it's relaxed. While the majority of Sarajevans, and really Bosnians in general, are sort of Friday Muslims, Islam is still a really big deal. During the wars, the Bosniak Muslims became a cause célèbre in the Arab world, with countries like Saudi Arabia and Afghanistan sending money for humanitarian aid, and even funneling Mujahideen fighters in to lend a hand, all of which is basically a push to increase Arab influence in the region and stoke a national religious revival, which naturally would play into places like Saudi Arabia's political interests. This mega mosque in Sarajevo was built entirely with Saudi money. It's also on the grounds of the Saudi embassy, which technically means it's on Saudi Arabian soil. And obviously the crowd here looks a little different from the congregation across town.
So our goal right now is to see if we can meet some local Muslims and figure out what's going on, and figure out why they're more kind of into Islamic identity and, by possible extension, extremist Islamism than their parents' generation. Or if that's true at all.
Narod je dugo živio ovdje u vremenu komunizma, znači dali su im nešto od vjere, evo hođe kad bude trebalo umru da se ukopaju, nešto se prouči i to je to. Snimke imamo snimke, imamo slike sa čaršije gdje su sve žene nose nikab i to je vjerski propis.
How hard is it to keep up the faith like in this environment?
Što se tiče stvari, da li je teško praktikovati din, Allahov vjeru, naravno da nije nimalo teško nama obavljati ono što je uzvišeni Allah azza ve džel nama naredio da obavljamo. Međutim, što se tiče okoline i ljudi s kojima mi živimo, koji su puni predrasuda prema nama, koji su pod uticajem propagandnih medija, raznih danas, gdje se serviraju razne informacije, naravno. Činjenica je da ovdje ljudi ne poznaju islam, znači.
Sarajevo and Bosnia's other big cities aren't exactly seedbeds of fundamentalist Islam, at least not yet. But there's a village in the north of the country called Gornja Majorca that adheres to strict Wahhabi Islam. The men there have beards, the women wear full niqab. It's kind of quaint. Well, quaint in the way that Western newspapers describe with things like Afghanistan and Europe and a potential terrorist training camp. The residents of Gornja Majorca aren't super receptive to this criticism, or really the media in general. Actually, almost every camera crew who's gone to visit them has been driven out of the village. In addition to just bad press, Gornja Majorca has also been raided by the local and national police numerous times. In 2010, the Bosnian DA's office sent 600 officers to the village to search for guns and evidence of terrorist activity. We were nervous about swinging by the village unannounced, however our fixer Elvis spent the previous month hanging out with the Gornja Majorcans at noontime prayers, and has kind of become buds with some of the younger guys there. Which hopefully means we can stop by and have a nice pleasant chat without having rocks thrown at our heads.
Yeah, drop it down. Camera down and rolling.
Alright. To show our goodwill, or at least what we hoped would be perceived as goodwill, we left the camera in the back seat of the car and got out to wait for the villagers to finish their afternoon prayers.
We don't want to look around, right?
We did take a live microphone with us, though, which may have been a slightly bad move.
He wants to know who you are.
Listen to us.
What do you want? What do you need?
We wanted to know if we could talk to them.
Interesuje da li mogu razgovarati s vama.
Čemu se radi? Šta razgovarati?
What is it about? What do you want to talk about?
We want to know about their lifestyle, about how the village works.
That revving, by the way, is the village leader, who's probably pushing 70, pulling up on his Harley. I cannot describe how awesome he looked.
Do you tape it? Did you tape it?
No, right now.
Nothing?
No.
Check it.
Check.
Same.
Is this GPS?
No.
No. Imaš ti šta uza se
Do you
pitanje?
have any recording devices on you?
No.
We have a...
Da više niste
And do not show up. Okay. And that goes for me as well.
Okay, we're sorry.
You have to leave.
Please apologize.
Žele da se izvini.
And be with us here as a Muslim, then come
Then
here.
we can. Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you, and
And
we're
that
sorry.
I want you to tell that to all you know.
Okay.
Nikad više ni stanje već verni.
Okay. And that's somebody you'd never talked to.
No, I never met that guy before.
Okay.
I believe this guy is their boss. He just died. He was never there, present, at the mosque when I was there. This was really a strange moment.
It's not good. We just got here before afternoon prayer, and this angry dude came up and told him he had to leave, and picked up rocks, which maybe he just picks up rocks, but I don't know. I saw that as kind of provocative, sort of like picking up ammo. We're trying to regroup right now. We're back at the Serbian cemetery. This will be very disappointing if we aren't able to talk to anybody. Especially because more and more I learn about these people, the less, like, you know, wouldn't say I'm on their side, but the more I kind of respect them being off on their own and doing this shit. Fuck.
Since it didn't seem like we were getting back in with the Wahhabis, we decided to hang out with their closest Muslim neighbors, the Bosnian Eugene Merman and his lovely wife.
Do you have many interactions with the people from that village?
Korektni su, nikoga ne diraju, niko njih nek ne dira, ali da ne vole drugu vjeru, da vole samo islam, to nije tačno.
One of the reasons we know about this village is that there have been that the police has come up here a couple times. They haven't found anything. Were you here?
Tu je došlo auta toliko da čitava Bosna se sabrala tu, mislili su, nisu našli ništa. Ali ja sam tu, ja sve znam situaciju, nema gdje će on doći, da on tu drži navodno nekakve obuke, ono daje. Ja sam lovac, ja vodam po ovim šumama, sve bi znao da ima nešto, ja sam prvi protiv toga, protiv terorizma, protiv koje kakvih stvari, ali...
Oni ne vjeruju, pogotovo ako je američka televizija, znaš, poznato je to, Islam, Amerika, u Americi svaki film, teroristi, islamski fundamentalisti, razumijete? I onda su oni uvijek u strahu od toga, vas da su oni jadni neki, a nisu, mislim,
sve oni su ocrnjeni navodno da su oni uzrok čitave situacije u Bosni i Hercegovini, nije tačno. Ja sam musliman i ne stidim se uopšte toga. Treba istinu pričati, istinu govoriti sad. Oni ako se opredijeli da se pridržavaju više vjeri islamu i što više klanjaju, što se obraćaju Bogu, to je njihovo.
Despite being walked out of the village by bearded men with rocks in their hands, the more we learned about Gornja Majorca, the more sympathetic we became to its wacky Wahhabist residents. Then 2 months later, one of those guys shot up the US Embassy with an assault rifle, which seems a little off. So what have we learned in the Balkans? My generation grew up ingrained with the idea that things like ethnic and racial and religious differences were ultimately just bullshit. The Balkans and the wars in the 90s is kind of a centerpiece of this way of thinking. We'll acknowledge that they have different cultures and they live in different geographies, but we think about it the same way we think of people from different states, or like Americans versus Canadians. We say, hey, they look the same, so what's the frickin' problem? As if that's some sort of solution. But the ethnic differences aren't what actually matters. It's the way people have internalized these differences and the way they've been doing so for 1,000 very messy years. This isn't unique to the Balkans either. There isn't something intrinsic about Serbs and Croats that makes them hate each other. Ditto Bosnians. What's really kind of scary is what happened here in the 90s could happen seriously anywhere on Earth. We're all just simmering pots of rage and intolerance waiting for an excuse to brutalize each other like fucking ape men. That's the real lesson of Yugoslavia. That and none of these clowns have any business making cars.